This is Kardec Radio for Teens.
And now it's time for real life-changing dilemmas from a Spiritist perspective. The Diary of Alex with your host, Mark Smith.
Well, hello friends, and welcome to another edition of the Diary of Alex. And today we're going to be working with a topic that's a little bit challenging and difficult for our society today to deal with, and that's a topic relating to sexual energy. And what we're going to do today is, first of all, go through the diary, and then, as always, end with a Spiritist interpretation of what has transpired. So here in this scene, once again, as we talked about last week, Alex is becoming dependent on alcohol, unfortunately, for many different reasons, but probably more than likely, or the main reason, is because of his spiritual connections that he's developing with friends who also drink. So here we have Alex drinking with his friend John on an outdoor patio. And the diary entry involves what transpired on that patio that evening. Dear Diary, John and I today were sitting at the outdoor patio of one of our favorite restaurants and just having a few drinks and kind of taking a relaxing evening because we've been working, so much this week on various studies and everything from the medical school, and Friday night comes around after that big stressful exam, and in my last diary I've been talking about whether or not really alcohol is the way I should be dealing with stress, but no matter. John and I are working on improving ourselves, and we're trying to find new ways to release stress, and it's really stressful. And, well, I won't go there today because I wanted to tell you something that just happened, which was just mind-blowing. As we were sitting at the patio, we were looking across the street, and I observed two of my medical school classmates coming out of a limousine. And then I looked a little bit more closely, and I noticed the limousine was driven by my friend Walter, who's actually also in my biology classes and is supposed to be in my rotation next semester. Getting out of the limo, I saw Albert and Amelia. Albert's wearing a tux, and Amelia's wearing a nightgown. To be honest, I've never seen either one of them wear anything other than their basic medical school wear. I never noticed that they wore anything unusual like this. Albert's tux looked like it was worth a fortune, and Amelia was wearing this nightgown which showed off all of her curves, and she was wearing some rather heavy, sensual makeup. And here they are going inside of that huge luxury apartment building just down the street from the medical school. And the only people that can afford to live there are like bankers and people like that. And we were so John and I just thought, well, let's just sit at the patio and wait for them to come back. Took 3 hours. And, we had almost given up, but we were so blown away by what happened that we saw the limo approach the building about 3 hours later. And then we just kind of stood there and waited for Amelia and Albert to come out of the building. And there they were. They noticed that we were looking at them as they were coming out of the building. And we thought, oh, no. And they got quickly into the limo and drove away as fast as possible. 20 minutes later, Walter comes back to the patio and starts interrogating us. What did you see? What did you notice? And we said we noticed that, our Amelia and Albert looked pretty elegant, and honestly, we just wondered why they're going into that apartment building at that hour, and why were they there for 3 hours, and why were they dressed like that, and oh my goodness. And you know what Walter says? He looks down to the floor, completely avoiding eye contact with us for about 5 minutes, And after a while, we just said, Walter, what's going on? And Walter says, well, yeah, I have to tell you, I'm their agent. And we said, agent? Agent for what? And Albert told us, well, that a couple of years ago, Albert and Amelia, who, they're really in love with each other. Everybody knows that. They decided that the only way that they could afford to live in the city together without taking on extra loans and being able to get married and to have a place where they could live together would to be to go on dates with other couples for financial compensation. And we were just I remember John said, you mean they're engaged with some kind of prostitution? And Walter said, well, I remember really directly. He said, well, name it what you'd like. I'd like you to know they're doing this out of love for each other. He said, don't share their secrets with anyone. This business is tough enough as it is. John and I were just speechless, and we sat there for, I think, almost all night till the place was closed, wondering, can love be commercialized? Can it be called a business? I just can't believe this happens. And that I know anyone who's even engaged in something like this. Well, from a spiritist perspective, we can see here how Alex is faced with a recognition that this is a corruption of sexual energy. From a spiritist perspective, we know that we know that we're all immortal spirits, and because we know that we're immortal spirits, we know that our bodies are just physical vests that are given to us as a blessing. And as a blessing, our bodies allow us to progress spiritually. And from this perspective, we have to realize something really important. This sexual energy that we think is really connected with our body doesn't actually come from our body by itself. It emerges from the spirit. And because it emerges from the spirit, because it emerges from pure energy, it easily attracts other spirits, both incarnate and discarnate, that are in the same energetic frequency. And this is an important thing to realize. In the book Action and Reaction, Andre Luis talks about how this creative energy which is given to us allows us to engage in loving sexual relationships and for us to engage in creative endeavors and all kinds of things, such as leading projects, performing music, writing books, dancing, singing, drawing, painting, planning, improvising, implementing great ideas, new ideas, bright ideas, inventions, and so forth. And that most of the missionary spirits who've incarnated on earth, and we're talking about people, musicians like Mozart and Beethoven, scientists like Albert Einstein. These are all examples of spirits who've used a great part of their creative energy to serve the community, to serve the social good. You can see here how, in these examples that we've given here today, how this creative energy can actually get corrupted or misguided and moved into other purposes which only serve, in a way, to keep us from progressing. When it doesn't serve the social good and serves the purpose of personal or financial gain in some way, this is where things start getting a little bit messy, and we quickly realize that if we're not using those creative energies for purposes that link us in loving ways to the greater good for the community, or to serve the relationship involving a lifelong partner, but instead we satisfy our impulses, short-term desires, what Joanna Giangelis calls the quickly burning flames of passion, what can happen is we can feel burnt emotionally and spiritually. And what happens, this happens because there's all these spirit entities around us in great thirst for these physical sensations, because they don't They can't experience these physical sensations themselves, but they really, really, really have this desire to fill that need. So they're accompanying us everywhere we go, all these sexual exchanges. And if we are satisfying short-term passionate impulses, these spirit energies can easily take us away our vital energy and can lead us to emotional and physical instability. So it's important when we're dealing with sexual energies to remember, where do we draw the line? Remember that the loving spirits are mentoring all of us. They're going to respect our choices. They're going to honor our choices. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, what is the choice I'm making? What kind of long-term consequences might the choices that I make regarding my sexual energy, what will these bring to myself and to those to whom I'm interacting? Do these choices bring me joy? Expose me to risks? What kind of consequences will I face? Will I be happy with the consequences I might face? Be aware that your sexual energy, the creative force that you have inside of you, is a God-given gift. And as a loving creator, God expects all of us to make loving use of the energy that benefits ourselves and those around us. So I'll leave you tonight, or this today, with just a brief little message from the Gospel according to Spiritism in the chapter, Be Perfect. The wise spirits recommend that we care not only for our body or spirit, but seek to find a balance while caring for both our body and spirit at the same time. And so let's say a brief prayer right now, thinking about that important advice. Dear mentors, dear loving spirits, thank you for reminding us of the important choices that we need to make regarding our creative sexual energies. Allow those to link ourselves to greater purposes in life, whether that's a meaningful, loving relationship, or whether that is a meaningful project that we have in life that connects us in our existence in meaningful ways to others and to the society, to serve the needs of the greater good, to help us to construct a future for ourselves which is greater and even more loving and inspiring than any other past existence we've had before. Allow us to connect to the spirits that will emanate the type of energy that we want to have in our lives. And let's also give and send out positive, loving energies towards all those discarnate and incarnate spirits whose creative force, whose sexual energies is regularly drawn towards the satisfaction of impulses, whether that's through prostitution, whether that's through pornography, whether that's through short encounters, sexual encounters. Allow all those who struggle with or deal with difficulties with their sexual energies to seek help now, so that their vital energy can allow them or is connected with higher purposes that allow them to fulfill their mission on earth, that will allow them to become greater, better, loving, more compassionate, more giving, more committed loving instruments of your beautiful, beautiful love that Jesus has for all of us. Thank you so much for giving us this wonderful opportunity tonight to reflect upon the dangers and also powers and beautiful results that can happen as a result of harnessing the sexual energies that lie within all of us. And so be it. This is an important topic that I think we'll need to start trying to unpack even a little bit more in future episodes, because this and alcohol are topics that will require us to really take some time to reflect upon, to think about. And it's a good idea for all of us to remember that we need to continuously, I think, check ourselves in our life, remind ourselves that the type of influence that we can get mixed up in with alcohol and other addictions and sexual energies that have been misdirected. This is something that we need to be ever vigilant about, because even the most people that are most dedicated to charity and loving energies can sometimes get their energies drifted apart because of things like alcohol and other sexual and misdirection of vital energy. So it's very important for us to be aware, to constantly be aware of this, constantly checking this, repeating to ourselves over and over again that we have choices when it comes to these energies, that we're not prisoners of our body or impulses, that we have choices to use these energies in appropriate and more positive directions for the society, for humanity as a whole. And if any of you now who are listening may be dealing with or having difficulties with balance of your sexual energy, remember how the good spirits recommended that we care for our body and spirit and try to find a balance between the sexual energies and our spiritual energies. And if you're having difficulty with this, if you find yourself faced with challenges regarding sexual energy, remember that you can seek help and support, spiritual counseling at the Spiritist Center. If you don't have a connection right now to a Spiritist Center, remember that we have lots of resources available online on KardecRadio.com. You can also do the God at Home. Feel free to search the KardecRadio.com. I know also that the Spiritist Society of Virginia has a wonderful little page there on the God at Home that you can take a look at on the web. It's important that we begin, a dialogue of these things, because these are the types of issues that can really burn us down emotionally and spiritually. So if you're struggling with this, just remember that you have help, you have support right in front of you right now. And we'd also like to let you know that Carol and I have set up a new email address that you can contact us with if you have any questions whatsoever, concerns. If you'd like to share anything with us, we'd be happy to talk to you, connect you with any resources in your own community. You can drop us a line by email. The email address is diaryofbelindaandalex@gmail.com. That's all one word, diaryofbelindaandalex@gmail.com. And we'll be happy to connect you with any help that we might be able to offer you. Feel free to contact us. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye for now.
This has been Kardec Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening.